Hi, friends. Welcome back to a new season of the Life with Loverly podcast. Hello, Nichelle. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? It's so good to be back in here.
It really is. We've got so much to talk about. We left last season right before holiday. I think we had some big intentions and realized that we had a lot on our plate.
We did.
So sorry to leave you guys hanging, expecting some exciting holiday content that we just never delivered, but we're back and we're better than ever. I think one thing, just thinking about the last 6 months, there has been a lot of change that has happened since we recorded last.
There really has. We've been a lot of places.
I know. We've kind of been all over the world since then.
Really. And I feel like, team's growing.
Yeah.
And we've set some new intentions for the year. So I'm feeling really good.
I feel like we're in a really awesome place. Just a lot of change internally for the better, a lot of growth, I guess is maybe the right word, not necessarily change, but that's been super exciting. So we'll get into that. Nichelle and I have traveled. Chris and I have traveled. We also just moved into our house. So we've got a lot of talking points.
We do.
Like we should get into it.
Yes. Okay. So I know that we kind of touched on this a couple days ago, but leaving last year the way that we did, we went into holiday. We wanted to be super focused. We kind of left the podcast on hold. And I feel like the beginning of the year, we put our foot down and we were like, okay, less is more sometimes.
Yes, I know.
And I think that it proved itself. We slowed down so we could speed up. And I feel like we haven't even really had to speed up per se because we've put the right things in place. So I feel so good about this year. I just got chill bumps thinking about that. This year's been so good so far because I feel like we've really been mindful of all of the working parts when it comes to Loverly Gray and Life with Loverly and our team, and that we don't have to work as hard as we really thought we would have to.
Well, it's interesting and something I feel like probably needs an episode of its own, but from being an entrepreneur and a small business owner, like relying on other people to do things and actually passing that off can be actually really helpful.
Yeah.
And so I think you and I both realize, okay, like we need to give this over, or in order to get to this next spot on our goal list, we need to hire more help to do that or hire different help. And so that has been really exciting. And I feel like while we were in the trenches of like, okay, now we're going to hire 3 new people and oh my goodness, and then now we're past that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, whoa, this is so cool to see.
We realized it was just a speed bump.
Yeah.
That's really what it ended up being at the end of the day. And it's like just taking action on those things is honestly what needed to happen. So,
well, and I think we're learning too, there's some things that we want to do in the future, goals that we have. And a lot of what we're doing is we are figuring out like how we're going to get there. Mm-hmm. And some of that stuff we'll even be able to share with you guys in the future. So there's just a lot of exciting things. I think I keep going back to the word intentional.
Yeah.
And I know that was like a word of the year maybe last year or the 2 years ago. But that still like is holding true. And at the end of the day, we've had to like look back and be like, okay, are we doing this with intention? Like, what is our intention behind that? Does it align with our core values? Does it align with like the things we want to do as a company? Is everybody on the same page? And if it didn't, then we were like, let's revisit that. Like, okay, what about that? Maybe now's not the right time.
Yeah.
So I feel like coming into this year, wanting to be super intentional, that has kind of made us shift a few times, not to mention like traveling and being in the final stages of moving into the house. Like I sort of feel this like weight has been lifted a little bit. But I just feel we're going to keep that in the forefront of our mind. And that's just really proven to work well for what we're doing right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I feel like given that we have kind of created this place where we have a little bit more freedom, traveling has come up.
Oh my gosh, I know. We took a really great trip to Palm Beach. I think that was the first.
It was the first week of February. I just looked back because
Oh
I
my
was
gosh.
trying to remember like the order of everything, the chronological order.
I feel like we needed that trip so much. So we went, and Nichelle came with me, and we went down for a Sail to Sable Palm Beach Lately lunch. They did another collaboration, which last year we went and helped supported their lunch. And this time we went back, which we were so honored they invited us back. And it was so much fun. I love spending time with Beth and Danielle. Beth and I have actually, like, we text all the time. We're actually like really close friends now, which is really that's the one thing I just have always loved about this influencer space. You can like make such deep intentional connections, and then people become like lifelong friends.
Absolutely. And these trips are what do it.
Yeah. I mean, just like really getting to like have some intimate conversations around like a lunch table while we're enjoying like a beautiful lunch poolside at the Colony. I mean, the ambiance is great. So then the conversation is just great. But we met some new faces this year too. It's always great to be back with the Sail to Sable team. Jen, the CEO, is so much fun to learn from and talk with. And I feel like we got going on some tangents that we get going on. And it's always just so fun to be with like-minded people. But that was really fun. And one other reason I think it was like such a beneficial trip, aside from like being there and supporting them, was we got to shoot some other content, and we really have decided that we kind of thrive.
We really do.
In these locations where we can take outfits, style them for our followers and for our readers, and we just come back with this like renewed passion for what we do.
Yeah, it's creating a visual, I feel like, for people.
Mm-hmm.
People love to see the visual of, okay, here's some great vacation outfits in a vacation spot.
Right.
And I think a lot of us are very visual. And I think when we see that, even as a consumer, it's just more captivating. It's like, oh, this can work in real life.
Yeah. Well, and I love doing try-ons, in the closet or in the bedroom. Cause like at the end of the day, a lot of times when people are getting dressed every day, it's happening in their bedroom or in their closet. So I do think there is reality behind showing those type of, reels and stories, but going somewhere and putting a full outfit together and going out on the beach or walking down the street and giving you guys like a vision of, oh, you're going on spring break. Like, here's your visual for like what you need to bring. To me, I just get so inspired to like keep going in this industry.
Absolutely.
And I think creators need that. So we came back and just had this kind of like renewed, like, okay, we were able to be in the warm weather. Like, we got some vitamin D. I mean, February here is cold.
Right.
So just having that motivation that like warm weather is coming was so nice.
It was. It really was. And then a couple weeks later, you guys went across the world.
Literally across the world. We turned around and went to Japan. I guess we were home for a few weeks, but went to Japan. And the reason we went is because Chris was running in the Tokyo Marathon. He is a marathon runner, for those who don't know. This was his 6th marathon, his 5th major. There are 6 majors that are in all different cities around the world. And so that was his 5th one. His last one is going to be in Boston, which he purposefully saved so that he could run in his hometown. So he's so excited. I think he's going to do that 2025. But we went to Tokyo. This is actually, he qualified, there's a lottery system for like getting into this marathon. And he got into it in 2021.
Oh, yes. I remember this.
And then he deferred his entry because of COVID and just some regulations and different things. And because he was sort of like, if I'm going across the world to Tokyo, like I want to be able to experience Tokyo. I don't want to, have to stay in my hotel
there
room.
was so much going on at that moment. Yeah.
So deferred it. And then last year it was coming up and they still had some kind of crazy restrictions. He deferred it again because they gave him that option.
Yeah.
He was like, if they're giving me the option to like push it out, maybe this is like a sign. And so then everything was good leading up to going for 2024. And so I went with him. It was one of the first international marathons that I was able to go with him on, which was really, really cool to just see Tokyo. My parents, my brother have actually visited Tokyo several times. He does a lot of business in Tokyo. So we kind of had like an understanding of what we were getting ourselves into, but it was even more beautiful than I could have imagined. Yeah. It was, the people were so kind. Getting around was really easy. It was so clean. Like, it's crazy how clean. There's no trash cans. And if you had trash, you just carried it with you until you got back to your house or to like a trash can. Wow. And I'm like, man, I remember just thinking like America could really use, like, take a few pointers
yes,
from how clean Japan was. But it was amazing. Chris did awesome in the marathon. He got a new personal best. He knocked 19 minutes off his like time before.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So he was very happy. He changed up a lot of things in his training, which maybe I'll have him on here to talk about just training in general. And he felt really good. So I was really proud of all the hard work, because it takes a lot to train for marathons. I mean, it's like months leading up to this event. And so I was really excited to be there, and I was really proud of myself for navigating the city by myself, you know.
Right.
We were in New York earlier, like a few weeks or a few months earlier for the New York Marathon, and I had my kids and my in-laws with me. And so navigating that, I had like help, but I was also laser focused on like my kids. And so then being by myself, I was like, all right, I got to figure out how I'm going to get from one stop to one stop. And oh yeah, everything's in Japanese. So we kind of made like a really clear path, and it was great. I got to see him several times throughout his race. But it was really fun. We had such a great time. We definitely want to go back. It was beautiful.
Yeah. The pictures were amazing.
Yeah.
It looked like it was a really great time of year for the cherry blossoms. Mm-hmm. They were just starting, right?
To come out. Mm-hmm. Some were starting. But it was also really cool to see so much history. Like the Imperial Palace was like right across from where we were. Or we went to, I believe it's called like Shibuya Square or Shibuya Circle, I think. And it's one of the, I'm probably not getting the name right, but it's like busiest crosswalk in the world.
Oh, wow.
And like it was several streets, and then all of a sudden everybody just like walks at the same time. But it's done so flawlessly. So that was really fun to see. But it was just really cool to see so many historical things.
Yeah.
That I was always like, oh yeah, I'm like never going to see that in person, but like cool. And then to be there and be like, wow, I'm like, felt like my middle school history self would have been like, this is awesome.
My girls are definitely following your stories because it's on their bucket list. They both want to go so bad.
It was so cool. The food was really great. Yeah, definitely recommend going if anybody gets the opportunity. We definitely want to go back. It was really cool.
Yeah, I love that. So this is the fun part. This is the fun story. So you guys get back on a Monday night?
Yeah, Monday night. Mm-hmm.
And on Tuesday morning, or maybe it was Monday night, you got a phone call.
So I guess it was a week before that we got the phone call.
Okay. Yes. That's right.
So I get a text message from Laura Whitaker, who is a CEO of ESP, which ESP is a charity local to Athens. That's where they're like based out of. And their mission is just helping people of all abilities. And we've partnered with ESP several different times throughout the last few years. She texts me and she's like, hey, I don't know if you and Chris are like fans of like Tom Holland or Zendaya, but we are going to London to go to his like charity event that they put on because they partner with ESP. And we have 2 extra seats at the gala if you and Chris would be interested in London. And the date was like the Friday after the marathon. And so I like saw this and I was like, we were watching TV and I was like, hey, Chris, can you pause this? Because I got this really crazy text. Showed him the text and he was like, wait, seriously? And I thought he was going to be like, haha, like, no, no way are we going to be able to swing that. And he's like, we got to go. Like, why? This is awesome. Like, we got to go. And I'm like, but like, how are we going to do this? We're going to be in Tokyo and then like, how are we getting back? And, you know, our kids, we had childcare lined up for the marathon. So he was like, no, I'm really like interested. Like, let's figure out if we can make this work. And literally within 24 hours, we had tickets, we had hotels, we were like committed.
Yeah.
Though it was crazy because we wanted to maybe like fly from Tokyo just to London, but those flights were insane. Like,
which was so crazy.
I know. I feel like we were already kind of over
yes.
there, but I guess not. So we ended up coming back to like Atlanta for the day. Came home, spent the night at home, packed up, and flew out Wednesday night. And we were only in London for a very short time, but one great thing about us taking that layover was that we were able to pick Nichelle up and she came with us, which was so much fun. I feel like you had the time.
I really did. I feel like I was made for London.
Yeah.
I dream about going back. I could not wait. So you guys went to the gala on Friday night and I was like, peace out.
Yeah.
I'm going to go check out all the bookstores.
Right.
I walked around London by myself for hours. It was amazing.
So a little backstory. This was going to be right over Nichelle, for those of you who don't know, or if maybe you're a new listener. Nichelle is my right hand. I literally start a sentence and she can finish it for me. She's started working with me 3 years ago. And so much of like what we've been able to accomplish with Loverly Gray has been like from Nichelle being like, okay, let's do that. Okay, this is your goal. Let's make it happen. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the plan. Da, 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 da. And it's just been so cool to look back over the last 3 years and see everything that we've accomplished. So I kind of went to Chris and I was like, you know, this is going to be right over the time of her work anniversary. I always try to spin things on like, well, we could make this for work if we like shoot a few outfits. Can she come too? And so he was like, you know, that would actually be like really great because I know you want to get some things shot over there. There were a few collaborations that we weren't going to necessarily be able to move around. And so long story short, I was like, how is your passport, Nichelle? She's like, expired. I was like,
I can give you the lowdown on what to do if you need your passport in a hurry.
So, you know, quick Google search, made an appointment at the passport office, literally got it back that day. Like you went to an appointment, did the whole thing, which all of these things just kind of fell into place. But it was just so great for you to be there. She's never been to London before. Mm-mm. Chris used to do a ton of business in London. So I feel like that's one city he's really well versed in. He
hooked us up too. He put us in the place that we needed to be to see all the things.
Oh my gosh. We stayed, what was the name? Oh, the London Edition.
Yes.
It was a great location if you're going to London. Like
Soho is, I feel like, the place to be.
There was shopping. The food in London is so good.
And it's like all different nationalities that you can find there. And it is amazing.
It's kind of like, I would say more of like a transplant city. Like a lot of people are from all over the world. And so a lot of cultures are there. So you can get like amazing food. Like their sushi in London is really good. Their Thai food is amazing. But then just like the traditional London meals and food is delicious too. Like our hotel had the best restaurant.
It really did.
The breakfast. I mean, the coffee. I think it was because it was out of that silver coffee.
The carafe just made the difference. No, I believe it was London. It was just because we were in London and that coffee was just, it's London coffee.
It was so good.
So good.
So we, Chris went and explored and he met up with some of the team from ESP. And they were doing some fun things. Nichelle and I shot a few outfits. We got to go to Chelsea, and there was everything is just so beautiful.
It is.
I still want to like dream about that Summerhill and Bishop shop that we went in that has like all the table linens. Like my friend Teresa would thrive in this store.
Oh, she really would.
I'm
curious what the other one looks like if it was bigger. It was beautiful.
It was amazing. We bought some napkins that we use in our house now. And I keep thinking like we've got to go back there because the textiles in London is just amazing.
Yes. Every store there was just so much better than it is here in America. Like think about Mango was there, which was amazing. And then the H&M
home store. Oh,
if only we could have just shipped all that stuff back.
Honestly, it was so great.
Yeah.
There were just so many things about the trip. We had tea at Sketch, which was such a fun experience. And the food and the tea was so good.
It's a must if you go to London.
Yeah. There's so many great tea houses. And that's just kind of like a really fun experience. So we did that. And it was just so much fun to be there at the gala. Chris and I went, and a few of the like board members of ESP were there. And then 2 of the participants were there. And they were so much fun. They were
so much fun.
Had
big personalities. Oh, so much fun.
Nikki and Liz. And it was just, they did amazing. That was their first time traveling abroad. And so it was so much fun getting to know them. And at dinner, we're teaching Liz like how to use chopsticks for the first time. And I was like so proud of her.
Yes.
It was just so amazing. So then we go to this gala, and it's very intimate setting. Like I think less than 200 people were there. And Tom Holland, who is Spider-Man. His family has this charity called the Brothers Trust. And their thing is they raise a bunch of money all throughout the years. And then instead of like, I guess it's more of a trust than a charity. Instead of like being a charity, they distribute the funds of their trust that they've raised to other charities around the world that maybe don't have kind of like the spotlight or like the means that they do at that level. And it was really beautiful because they were honoring like 4 different charities, and Java Joy, which was started by ESP, was one of the charities that they were giving money back to that night. And both Nikki and Liz work for Java Joy in Atlanta and in Athens. And it was just so cool to see all these other charities, but to just know that like money that was getting raised was going to go back into the hands literally of 2 people that were in the room. And it was just such a beautiful event. Tom Holland was there the whole night. He was incredibly kind. His whole family was amazing. They all were heavily involved in the evening. One of his brothers is a chef, and he prepared all of the food for everybody there.
Wow.
And everybody was like, this was the best like gala meal we've ever had. It was just really, really cool to spend time with them and just kind of see just like a small part of this bigger thing that's going on. And so that's the real reason we went to London. And it was such I wish we would have stayed longer because the ESP team, they did a bunch of other stuff and they did so much sightseeing. Like
they had a packed schedule.
Yeah, they did. And we did a few things with them and it was so fun. Just like seeing London through their eyes was amazing. And so I was so glad that they had that opportunity. But it was so fun. Like I think we definitely need to like vision board ourselves to go back.
Agree. Maybe it's just like a work anniversary kind of March every year. Maybe we go a month later so it's a little warmer.
It was a little chilly. I feel like if we would have gone like April, it would have been prime.
Agree.
We got this really great book and it was all about London and like pretty places to take photos and like Instagram handles. This book was amazing. I'm going to actually leave a link for it in the show notes because it's a pretty coffee table book that I have in my office now. but they have them for like other cities. And it was just like such a fun thing that we actually used. But
we
then
were like, oh, we saw that.
Yeah.
Oh, we saw that. Yeah, I ended up buying it too. It was so pretty.
But London was amazing.
It was. I came home with a whole suitcase full of books.
Yes, you did. It was so funny. If you guys saw on Instagram, I was like I felt like the Nichelle to me in this bookstore. I'm like videoing her behind the scenes and she's like, they have this copy. You have no idea how, amazing this is. And I'm like, yes,
I know. I get excited about the little things. This year was about romanticizing life. Yes. And so I was just, enjoying it. And the UK has different covers of books that I love. And I have, a huge bookshelf that I like to collect. Mm-hmm. So I got some of my favorites and it was so much fun.
It was amazing. London, we're coming back. It was
we are.
Truly, So we went from Tokyo to London. I personally think that helped my jet lag.
Probably.
And then when we got back, I was not fine, but I was definitely like not as jet lagged from Japan.
Yeah.
It was like I cut it in half. And so then I was really only recovering from the London.
Yeah.
It was wild. That was a wild.
The time difference didn't bother me. I went with a sinus infection and came back with bronchitis. So
literally, Nichelle, like the day we were leaving, she comes to the office and she's like, yeah, I'm not really like feeling 100%. She's like, but I'm getting on that plane. Like I'm fine. And one of the other girls in the office was like, yeah, maybe you should go get a steroid shot or like go to urgent care and just like
Well,
confirm.
She scared me. She's like, if you get on the airplane with your ears like that, you could bust an eardrum. She was like telling me all these terrible things. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to urgent care.
I know. And then we took like an overnight flight and like you didn't really sleep well on the flight. So
you know what? That is a distant memory. I don't even remember that part, honestly.
It's like, oh, that was nothing.
Adrenaline had me going.
I know. It really did. But it was so much fun. And walking around, honestly, we were, at the time, we were like, where's Kate? And I mean, now I feel kind of bad that
she was in hiding.
I know.
Bless her heart.
So prayers for Kate Middleton.
Yes.
Anyway, London, again, I mean, we could probably just go on and on.
We really could.
London.
About the 48 hours that we spent there.
We'll do it again longer.
Okay, so then we come back. And so rewind 2 years ago, this all started.
Yeah. Technically,
house.
like longer than that because we bought that lot.
Oh, yes.
So I know I've talked about this in the episode of the podcast last summer about us moving, but in 2021, December 2021, we bought a lot in the neighborhood that my best friends were building in. And we started, so it was probably like 7 months in. We had already been like working with Garrett. Yeah. We had already hired Truth & Co. Mm-hmm. They had come, done like site visits on the lot. Mm-hmm. And then we had the opportunity to buy a different house in the neighborhood that was actually right next door to our best friends. And so we bought that. It was kind of like before it even hit the market. It was
that literally was a God thing.
It really was.
It had so much of what you were already trying to do in the house that you were going to build from scratch.
That we weren't going to be able to do.
Exactly.
So we ended up just like flipping. We bought the house, sold the lot. And then we decided to do like a major renovation. The house itself had amazing bones, but it was not our style. We wanted to open it up. We wanted to make it a little bit different than what it was. And it had so much potential. Like, I feel like one question people kept saying to me this past weekend was like, how did you walk into this house seeing what it was and like visualizing what you wanted? Like, I just don't even know how you did that. And but to me, I was like, that's just, there was no question. Like, what it looks like is like what I visualized.
Right.
And so we flipped the script, started doing a renovation on this house 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so it has been a wild ride, a long ride. We didn't know. I mean, building a house is like a full-time job.
I do not know how people do it.
Yeah. I mean,
without help.
Yeah. Nichelle and I would literally take time out of our work week to like do house stuff. And even though we were working with the designers and they were amazing and I basically gave them a huge Pinterest board of inspiration, shared albums on Instagram, just all of this content that I had saved over the years with ideas of what I wanted. And then they kind of came back and they were like, okay, for this room, like, here are 3 choices. What are your thoughts on making this? Okay, great. Now let's pick out chairs. So they were helping present ideas, but we were very much like involved in what we actually selected.
Oh, yeah.
So fast forward to this past weekend, everything is done. The house, we live there now.
I feel like we should tell them how it works because I feel like there were a lot of questions this weekend.
Yes.
So Truth & Co. came in and they were a design firm that you hired to help you with all these decisions.
And they helped me with literally every selection, like plumbing fixtures, backsplash,
everything.
Where we want the outlets to go, how the room is going to function, what light switches are going to, I mean, they literally did all of that and like helped with the styling and designing and like the layout of the actual like stuff that was coming into the house.
Right. So what they like to do is install it while you are not in the home.
Right.
So they want it to be, because here's the thing, over the 2 years, those decisions are being made.
Right.
So there were literally things you and I were looking at, we were like, what's going here again?
Yeah.
You forget because there's just so many decisions that have to be made along the way. And so what's cool is they spent Monday through Friday in the house and they were installing art, lighting that needed to be like anything, any little thing.
Yeah. Like if it had a
so
screw,
you could live.
They touched it. Like all of the curtains, the shades, the rugs, like the styling of the cabinets.
Yes.
So they're not necessarily organizing all of our stuff. They were just like displaying what we did have, I guess would be like a way to say it.
Agree.
But it's all stuff that we had been selecting, like you said, over the last
because they were storing it over the year and a half.
Yes.
Like everything was being stored in their facility. So it wasn't something you had your hands on. So they literally brought and unloaded. It was so cool. I got to see the whole thing the first day.
Yeah.
There were 2 massive moving trucks that these guys were just unloading and unwrapping. And then they took it to the room and there was a team assembling. It was so cool.
Yeah. Like the way... I mean, I'm just honored that we even had this experience. Like, however, I will say a few years ago when we moved into our house, so we moved in 2020 to Athens, which is where I'm originally from. My family lives here. I was very pregnant with Hazel. We just needed to get back to close to family. And that was kind of always our plan to come back here. We move in here. I have a baby. It's COVID time. So everything is just weird. I'm running my business. And at that point I had the business was like 4 years old and I was drowning and our house was not finished. I felt like there was just constantly things I like couldn't do it was like, where do I give my time? Like to my kids, finishing my house, running my business, creating content. And I ended up having kind of like a mental breakdown a few months after we moved in. And I was just like, I just need help. Like, I just want to finish my bedroom so that at night I can come in here and it feels calming and it feels peaceful. Yeah. And so that's when I sort of started realizing that my home was like my safe place. And that if that was not in order and if I couldn't like leave work, even though at that time I was working from home, everything was just happening. I needed a place that felt like this is like serene. I can be calm here. I can like reflect here. So we took time off. We hung curtains. We hung pictures. We got our bedroom all nice and ready. And that was like the only room that was like really completed in our house. But that was like a place I really needed. So fast forward to us like going to start the building process, I brought up to Chris, I was like, I don't want to experience that again. Like, I want to go ahead and start like building in this budget of us preparing to do a house, of working with a design team that is going to help me pick out everything that is going to, because I'm then at this point we have more employees, we have an office, we have.
You can't just stop and do it.
I can't stop, but I needed help.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, hiring a designer to help with all those decisions or to help give me a choice was really like for my mental health.
Yeah.
But that's something I knew in advance because of that issue that happened and because of that kind of breakdown. So we were able to start like putting those costs like in the house building costs and in the budget to make the process just a little bit easier, because that's what I really needed at the end of the day. And it was the best money that we've spent.
Yeah.
Like, it was so helpful. I mean, you worked very closely with them throughout that process too. So, I mean, I cannot even thank Nichelle enough just for her role in this house, because it was, I probably still would have had stress working with them if it wasn't for Nichelle like buffering. Mm-hmm. And it's just wild with like how much that goes on behind the scenes of like running a company.
Oh yeah.
But that was something that they were so amazing. They were so intentional. They took a lot of our feedback. I mean, it was just a great experience, you know, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And then you're able to walk into your home and it be done.
Yeah. So then like, aside from them picking everything out, I was like, I would love if, you know, I mean, we went like full package. They set everything up. We moved into the house the week before, like our movers came and brought our stuff over that we had from our old house that was coming. And then they were like, okay, goodbye, please leave. And we were like, okay, well, where are we going to go? And it just worked out that we had a cancellation on our beach house for that week. And so we were like, well, I guess let's go to the beach.
I mean, honestly, it was the best thing for you.
It really was.
We
I was
had to
not
get you out of here.
To drive by and see what was going on. It was truly just amazing. And then to like walk in and just see everything look how I thought it would in my head, but better.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I just immediately started crying. It was just very overwhelming that people who were there, who had helped with this process, did this for us. And like I was just honored, you know, that like we had partnered with this like amazing, kind company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I say partnered, we paid for everything. And I was just so glad that I put my trust in them, because I felt like they just knocked it out of the park.
Oh yeah.
And every room had just like different elements of just like my style, it was like I literally went and like touched every room, and then it was just exactly what I wanted. And then Chris, there were several rooms that were going to be more like, Chris was kind of like, I don't really care what you do up on the main floor, but like the basement is all mine, you know? Yes. And like seeing him be so excited about his office and the gym space and like the theater room, I was just like, that was really cool, because it's been a long process for him being like picking out paint colors and things he didn't care about. But then for him to be like, wow, this was so worth it.
Yeah.
It was just, I mean, overwhelmed with emotions. We've been living there for 3 days and I feel like I'm still just like, wow, this is crazy.
Were you finding things all weekend like, oh, I didn't see that?
Yes, definitely. Or I'm like, oh, okay, where should this go? Like, okay, then I like used a bowl for serving some stuff, and I was like, okay, where did I get this from? But we'll, get to know the house. I think one of my favorite things, we have these rooms that have like, I felt like at our last house, which we didn't build our last house, and it was an amazing house for us for the time we were there, but I didn't ever really have a place that I felt like, this is like my cozy, comfy chair. I can go in and sit and have coffee and like do my quiet time or like listen to something. And so when we were building this house, there were so many different spots throughout that I was like, we could put like a moment of chairs here, or this sitting room is going to be lovely. And so this morning I woke up early. I set my alarm for like 5:00 and I got up and I like turned on the lights and I just kind of soaked it in. And I went into this, like our sitting room, and I read my Bible. And I was just like, this is like what have been like wanting to do. Like, this is what this room was for. And it will serve so many other purposes too, but just like a special place for me to go and just like take time each day. And so I did that for the first time this morning. I was just like, again, overwhelmed and just like emotional that it was like, here we are. Like now I can like do those things I've been like praying for or dreaming about for so long. It's like, I'm living that now. So it's still, I mean, there's so much to do still. We've got a lot to unpack, some last minute trips from the old house. But I'm just blown away by like the memories and what is going to come.
Oh yeah.
From being here.
Yeah. This space is going to create a lot more, I feel like, excitement.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just creativity.
I know. Well, and I already felt that sense of calm that I was missing from our old house for that amount of time. And I feel that in so many more rooms than just like our bedroom.
Right.
And so that was really important to me. And even just like, I feel like my kids just thrive in a calm environment, which is weird to say for like toddlers. But
yeah.
But that is something I just feel like they've just kind of meshed very well.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're getting a great playroom. I need to unpack that, which a friend of mine yesterday was like, yeah, the playroom was the first thing I unpacked. I'm like, where were you?
Seriously.
With this information, you know? I need to get up there and unpack that. But anyway, it's just been a whirlwind of the last few months. And it's crazy to like, Nichelle and I are like, what are we going to do with our time? Like, I mean, we're going to create some amazing content, but.
Absolutely. And, you know, we are the type of people that don't sit still. So I'm sure there'll be something around the corner.
You know, I already have a few ideas swirling in my brain.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, Taylor, don't go too far. Our builders have been working with us for the last 2 years. They built out our office and our house. I'm like, oh, you're not getting rid of me. We're going to come up with
We've
something
really
else.
enjoyed working with you so much.
So, yeah, it's been great. But I'm just very excited for this season of the podcast.
Me too.
Aside from all this like fun stuff going on in the personal side of Life with Loverly, we've got some awesome guests coming this year.
I'm so excited.
It's kind of like a mix of a lot of different things.
It is.
Health. We've got food, interior designers, some really incredible stories. Like, I think there's just so much coming. One person I'm super excited to interview is Dr. James.
Oh, yeah.
He is so amazing. I cannot wait for that episode. I feel like he has so many nuggets of health truth that is just going to be so eye-opening.
Yes.
I'm
looking forward to Reagan.
I know. Reagan from the Blooming Nest is going to be, I think it's going to be hilarious.
Absolutely.
She is an interior designer and she's just like so real and she's so fun and she has the best TJ Maxx and Target finds.
Yes.
I mean, literally, she posted this reel of this like home goods roundup that she did it was stories. And it made me want to get on a plane and go to her home goods.
I know.
The stuff was crazy.
I am obsessed with what she's done with her builder grade home.
Oh my gosh.
Just DIYs and just upgrading. It is insane.
Yeah. So we're going to talk with her and I'm hoping she'll give us some tips and tricks and, you know, all the things for people looking to just make a few like changes.
Yeah.
Who else? We just have
Julia
Lily,
Rose.
Julia. Oh my gosh. Julia Rose, you guys. If you are a handbag girly or you want to like know about investing in handbags, Julia is coming on the podcast and she's going to be such a great episode.
She is.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of like really good, like
she's so full of knowledge.
So knowledgeable.
Yeah.
She's another person we need to go back to London to hang out with.
I know.
We
just barely missed her.
I know. Lily from Lily Eats and Tells
Yes.
is coming. I have loved her cookbooks. I cannot wait to get her on and just get some recipes shared. And then the list goes on. I've got some personal friends that are going to be on this season and sharing some really cool stories. So I think we've got lined up. We are planning to like just keep it rolling.
Mm-hmm.
I envision you guys having a new episode every Tuesday from now until like maybe the end of fall. We'll see, but
I'm pretty sure that Kat said that we're already lined up through October.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So we have some really great episodes coming. We might even have to throw some bonus episodes depending on what happens.
I know.
'Cause I feel like we love getting on here and just talking.
Yes.
And we love having guests on as well. But sometimes we're like, we want to talk about that, but we have like guests lined up. So
we have to pop a little few surprise ones in there.
Exactly. So we've got some also just great things happening behind the scenes at Loverly Gray right now. So you guys might see some new faces on Life with Loverly Instagram. If you're not following us there, be sure to give us a follow because there's a lot of great content that happens over there. And we're wanting to share a little bit more about like behind the scenes of the business side of things. Cause I know that's a question that we get a lot is like, what do you mean
right.
you have an office, and like who goes there and what do they do? So that will be a really fun thing for you guys to learn a little bit more about now that we've got some extra hands on deck.
It's an exciting year ahead.
Yeah, man, 2024. I feel like 2023, we had some like hiccups and it was hard. But this year, we've really channeled our like, okay, we're going to learn from that and we're going to come back from that and we're not going to let that get us down. And I think I'm just really proud of us for moving forward and for doing what we want to do and just growing. And it's going to be a really good year.
It is. I'm excited.
Okay, friends. Well, until next time.